The stars gleamed like distant jewels through the massive viewport of the Galactic Council chamber. Major Elaine Winters stood tall, her military uniform crisp despite the long journey from Earth. She kept her face calm, though inside her heart raced. This was humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council, and everything depended on making the right impression. The council chamber stretched in a perfect circle, with 7 elevated platforms arranged around a central speaking area, where Winters now stood. Each platform held a representative from the founding species of the council, beings who had traveled the stars for thousands of years before humans had even left their atmosphere. "The human representative may now address the council," announced a melodic voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Winters cleared her throat. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council, I bring greetings from Earth. We are grateful for this opportunity to join the galactic community." From the highest platform, Council Leader Zixthar leaned forward. His blue skin shimmered under the chamber lights and his 4 eyes blinked in an unsettling pattern. Yes. We welcome Earth as a developing world under our protection. Now, I understand you wish to discuss defensive measures?" Winters nodded and pressed a button on her wrist device. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing star maps and movement patterns. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual activity at the edge of the Orion Arm. We believe it represents a serious threat not just to Earth but to all Council worlds." The hologram zoomed in to show dark shapes moving between stars, leaving dead systems in their wake. "The Voidborn," Winters continued. "Based on our analysis, they consume energy and matter from entire star systems. Their path suggests they will reach Earth's sector within 8 months." A rumble of conversation passed through the council members. Winters felt a moment of hope. They were listening. Then Zixthar laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against stone. "Major Winters, these readings are clearly the result of primitive sensors and inexperienced analysts. What you are seeing is likely a cosmic dust cloud, or perhaps a natural stellar phenomenon. With respect, Council Leader, we've confirmed these readings with multiple methods. The pattern of star deaths matches no natural phenomenon in our databases." A new voice joined the conversation. "And how extensive are human databases compared to council records that span 50,000 years?" This came from Admiral Clax T, the military representative of the Taurian Empire. His massive form towered over the other council members, his skin like gray stone and his eyes cold. Winters stood her ground. "Our observations may be more recent, but they are no less valid. The threat is real, and Earth requests access to advanced defensive technology to prepare." This caused an uproar among the council members. Zixthar raised a hand for silence. "Out of the question," he stated firmly. "Earth has been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries. Your species still fights among itself over resources and borders. You are nowhere near ready for the responsibility of advanced weapons technology." Winters felt her face grow hot, but kept her expression neutral. "Then what protection will the council provide?" Admiral Clax T answered, "I will assign a defensive fleet to monitor Earth's system. Should any actual threat materialize, we will handle it." "And if the Voidborn are as dangerous as we believe?" Winters pressed. "Then your primitive world will be safely protected behind the might of the Taurian fleet," Clax T said with obvious condescension. "Though I must say, I find it amusing that a species that only recently learned to split the atom believes it can identify threats the council missed." The meeting continued for another hour, but Winters could see that minds were made up. The council viewed humans as children playing at war, imagining monsters in the dark. By the time Winters was dismissed, the council had already moved on to other matters. As she gathered her materials, a soft voice spoke behind her. "Major Winters?" She turned to find one of the council members had descended to her level. He was tall and slender with pale green skin and large, thoughtful eyes. Winters recognized him as Counselor Eridan of the Meridian Collective, known for their diplomatic skills. "Counselor," she acknowledged with a nod. "I wish to speak with you privately," Eridan said, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. "Your presentation was concerning." Hope flickered in Winter's chest. "Then you believe our data?" I believe you believe it, he said carefully. But that is not why I approached you. I wanted to explain something that wasn't stated openly in the chamber. I'm listening. Eridan's voice dropped lower. The Council has studied humanity extensively since detecting your radio signals centuries ago. Your species has been deemed too aggressive and unpredictable to be trusted with advanced weaponry. There are concerns that such technology might be used for purposes other than defense. You think we'd attack the Council? Winters asked, incredulous. Some members do, yes. Your history is filled with conquest and warfare. Even now, your nations maintain weapons capable of destroying your own world. Winters wanted to argue but knew it would be pointless. So Earth is left defenseless because the Council fears us more than they fear the Voidborn. Not defenseless. Admiral Clax teased. Fleet is formidable. A fleet commanded by someone who clearly despises humans. Eridan had no answer for that. After a moment, he simply said, I will review your data personally, Major. If there is merit to your concerns, I will advocate for stronger measures. It was a small concession, but better than nothing. Winters thanked him and made her way to her ship for the long journey home. 3 days later, Winters stood in the Oval Office of the White House. President Sam Carter sat behind his desk, fingers steepled as he listened to her report. Defense Secretary Olivia Grant paced nearby, her face growing darker with each detail. So they dismissed our evidence and patted us on the head. Secretary Grant summarized when Winters finished. Essentially, Winters confirmed, Admiral Clax made it clear that his protection is more about containing us than defending us. President Carter sighed deeply. Options, Major? Winters had spent the entire journey home thinking about this moment. We could try again with more evidence, but I don't believe the Council will change their position. They've existed for thousands of years following the same protocols. They don't adapt quickly. And the Voidborn won't wait while we try to convince them, Grant added. No, they won't, Winters agreed. She took a deep breath and laid a datapad on the President's desk. Which is why I propose Operation Trojan Horse. The President raised an eyebrow as he picked up the pad. His eyes widened as he read. This is an audacious, Major. It's necessary, sir. The Council won't help us, so we must help ourselves. And perhaps when the time comes, help them too. Secretary Grant had moved to read over the President's shoulder. The resource allocation alone would be difficult to hide, and if the Council discovered what we were doing, they'd likely cut off all contact with Earth, Winters acknowledged. But if I'm right about the Voidborn, we won't survive without taking this risk. President Carter was quiet for a long moment, studying the plan. Finally, he looked up at Winters, his expression grave. You understand what you're asking for? The political, economic, and military consequences if this goes wrong? Winters met his gaze steadily. I do, Mr. President, but I also understand the consequences if we do nothing. If they won't see us as equals, we'll have to show them exactly what humanity is capable of. Carter and Grant exchanged looks. Then the President nodded slowly. Very well, Major Winters. You have provisional approval to begin preparations. God help us all if you're wrong. But as Winters left the Oval Office, she was thinking about what would happen if she was right. The Voidborn were coming. The Council was blind to the threat. And humanity had just 8 months to prepare for a war that might determine the fate of the galaxy. The Rocky Mountains loomed large against the blue sky. Deep within their stone embrace, hidden from both Earth's population and the watchful eyes of the Galactic Council, Major Elaine Winters walked through a massive underground facility. Workers crushed around her, carrying equipment and shouting orders. The air smelled of metal and electricity. 3 months had passed since the Council meeting. 3 months of secret work, hidden budgets, and carefully selected personnel. Operation Trojan Horse was no longer just a proposal. It was taking shape in this hidden base. Major, we've made progress with the engine modifications, said Dr. Alan Murphy, falling into step beside her. His wild gray hair stuck out in all directions, and dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept much. The crashed scout ship's propulsion system is unlike anything we've seen. but we're starting to understand the principles. Winters nodded. The alien scout ship had crashed in Arizona 30 years ago. The government had hidden its existence from the public, and more importantly from the Galactic Council. That secret was now their best hope. And the weapon systems? Winters asked. Kate is working on them now. You should see for yourself. Murphy led Winters through a set of heavy doors into a large testing chamber. Inside, a tall woman with short red hair was bent over a workbench. Pieces of machinery surrounded her, some clearly human in design, others with the strange flowing lines of alien technology. Kate, the Major is here, Murphy called out. Kate Lawson looked up and wiped sweat from her forehead. Major, good timing. We're about to test the first prototype. Winters approached the workbench. This doesn't look like energy weapons the Council uses. It's not, Kate said with a proud smile. The Council races have relied on laser and plasma technology for thousands of years. They've refined it to an incredible degree, but the Voidborn have adapted to those weapons, Winters finished. Exactly. So we went in a different direction. Old-school kinetic weapons, but with new twists. Kate held up what looked like a large bullet. Tungsten core with a programmable outer shell. The shell fractures on impact in patterns that can be adjusted, based on the target. And we've added a secondary electromagnetic pulse generator. You're mixing physical impact with electronic warfare, Winters said, impressed. The Council would never think of it. They abandoned projectile weapons centuries ago. But our research suggests the Voidborn are vulnerable to physical damage in ways they aren't to energy weapons. Murphy added, It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight, except everyone's forgotten how dangerous knives can be. Winters felt a small spark of hope for the first time since returning from the Council meeting. How soon can we begin production? 2 weeks for the first batch, Kate said, but we'll need to test them in space conditions. You'll have it, Winters promised. What about our ships? Murphy's expression turned serious. That's more complicated. We can modify existing hulls with the reverse-engineered technology, but building new ships with fully integrated systems would take years we don't have. Show me what we've got. They moved to another section of the facility where Lieutenant Frank Martinez was running battle simulations. He was a compact man with intense eyes and quick movements. On large screens, digital ships moved in complex patterns. Lieutenant, Winters greeted him. Martinez straightened. Major, we're testing new battle formations. The Council races fight in perfect geometric patterns. Beautiful but predictable. The Voidborn have learned to counter them. And your solution? Chaos, ma'am. Martinez grinned. Controlled chaos, unpredictable movements, sudden direction changes, false retreats. Humans are good at improvisation in ways the Council species aren't. Winters watched the simulation for a moment. The human ships moved like a swarm of angry bees, impossible to predict. Will our pilots be able to maintain these patterns in actual combat? They're learning fast. We're recruiting from video game championships, stunt pilots, even street racers. People who think outside the box. In another area, Dr. Joe Collins was studying biological samples under powerful microscopes. His lab was filled with strange equipment that monitored everything from light emissions to quantum fluctuations. Dr. Collins, what have you learned about the Voidborn? Winters asked. The xenobiologist looked up. They're unlike anything in Council records, Major. Based on the data from destroyed systems, they're not fully organic or mechanical, but something in between. They consume energy in all forms: light, heat, radiation, even the fundamental atomic bonds in matter. Weaknesses? Working on it. There are patterns in their attack strategies that suggest some kind of central coordination. If we can disrupt that... Winters made notes on her tablet. Every piece was important: weapons, ships, tactics, intelligence. Earth had just 5 more months before the Voidborn arrived. As she continued her inspection, her communication device buzzed. Winters. Here. Major, it's Powell. I need you in communications immediately. Diane Powell was their cybersecurity expert, responsible for keeping Operation Trojan Horse hidden from both Earth's general population and the Council's monitoring systems. If she needed Winters urgently, something was wrong. When Winters reached the communications center, Powell was hunched over a bank of screens, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards. "We have a visitor in orbit. One of Admiral Claxt's adjutants is requesting permission to land." Winters felt her stomach tighten. "Did they detect something?" "I don't think so. They're calling it a routine check-in. But nothing about this feels routine. Alert the surface team to hide anything suspicious. I'll meet this adjutant myself." 2 hours later, Winters stood at a small airfield as an alien shuttle descended from the clouds. It landed with barely a sound, its sleek hull gleaming in the sun. The ramp lowered, and a tall figure emerged. Subcommander Vex was not what Winters expected. Unlike Admiral Claxt's massive stone-like appearance, Vex was slender and moved with fluid grace. His skin was a lighter shade of gray, and his eyes held a spark of curiosity rather than contempt. "Major Winters," he said, his translator giving his words a slight musical quality. "Thank you for meeting me personally." "Welcome to Earth, Subcommander. This is unexpected. Admiral Clax believes in thorough monitoring of protected worlds," Vex said, looking around with interest. "I am to evaluate your planet's defensive needs and cultural development." Winters kept her face neutral, though alarm bells rang in her mind. "Of course. We're happy to cooperate." "Excellent. I will be staying for 1 Earth month." 1 month. A council representative watching their every move for a month, while beneath the mountains humanity prepared for war against an enemy the council didn't believe existed. "We'll make you comfortable," Winters said, forcing a smile. "I look forward to showing you how humans live." What she didn't say was that she would use this opportunity to learn everything she could about council defenses and void-born movements. If Subcommander Vex was going to watch them, they would watch right back. As they walked toward the waiting vehicles, Vex said, "You know, Major, not everyone on the council believes humans are as primitive as they appear." Winters glanced at him sharply. "Is that so?" "Indeed. Some of us find your species fascinating. Unpredictable, yes, but perhaps that is not always a weakness." For the first time, Winters wondered if Vex's visit might be an opportunity rather than a threat. "Well, Subcommander, you'll certainly find us unpredictable. That much I can promise." Red alert sirens wailed throughout the lunar base. Major Elaine Winters ran down the corridor, her heart pounding in her chest. 6 months had passed since her meeting with the Galactic Council. The Voidborn had arrived, earlier than even she had predicted. "Status report," she shouted as she burst into the command center. The large room was filled with screens showing the outer edges of Earth's solar system. Officers moved quickly between stations, their faces tight with tension. Lieutenant Martinez looked up from the main tactical display. "First contact occurred 20 minutes ago at the Kuiper Belt defensive line. Admiral Claxt's fleet engaged immediately." Winters studied the display. Dozens of blue dots represented council ships. Red dots, far too many of them, showed the void-born vessels. "Communications with Claxt's flagship?" she asked. "Sporadic," said Diane Powell from her station. "They're following standard council battle protocols." Winters frowned. Standard protocols meant predictable patterns, exactly what their simulations showed would fail against the Voidborn. "Where's Subcommander Vex?" "Observation deck," Martinez replied. "He's been watching since the alert started. Over the past months, Vex had become almost a friend. His questions about human culture had seemed genuine, his interest in their ways respectful. Winters had carefully fed him selected information while learning all she could about council defenses and tactics. A new alarm sounded. On the display, 3 blue dots vanished. "Council cruisers destroyed," Martinez reported grimly. "Their energy weapons are having minimal effect. The Voidborn shields are adapting to each frequency faster than the Council can adjust." Winters turned to Powell. "Secure channel to Earth Command." The screen switched to show President Carter and Secretary Grant in the underground war room beneath the White House. "Mr. President, the Voidborn have arrived, and Council forces are..." Already taking heavy losses. Request permission to activate Trojan Horse. Carter's face was grave. The Council liaison is demanding we remain under their protection. Says deploying unauthorized forces would violate our agreement. With respect, sir, their protection is failing. In approximately 12 hours, the Voidborn will reach Earth. Carter exchanged looks with Grant, then nodded firmly. Permission granted, Major. God be with you. As Winters turned back to the tactical station, she found Sub-Commander Vex standing in the doorway. His tall frame seemed smaller somehow, his usual confidence shaken. Major Winters, he said quietly. My people are dying. I know, she replied, and I can help, if you'll let me. How? Earth has no fleet, no advanced weapons. Winters looked him directly in the eyes. That's not entirely true. Understanding slowly dawned on Vex's face. You've been preparing in secret. We tried to warn the Council they wouldn't listen. For a moment, Vex said nothing, then, what are you planning? Something the Voidborn won't expect. Winters turned to the communications officer. Send the activation code to all Trojan Horse units. Launch sequence begins in 30 minutes. Throughout the solar system, hidden bases sprang into action. Beneath the ocean floors, inside hollowed-out asteroids, and within the moons of Jupiter, concealed hangars opened to reveal ships unlike anything the Council had seen. In orbit around Earth's moon, Winters boarded the flagship Defiance with her core team. Dr. Murphy, Kate Lawson, and Lieutenant Martinez would coordinate from the command deck. Dr. Collins monitored the biological readings of the Voidborn from his lab section. All systems check complete, Kate reported as Winters reached the bridge. Kinetic weapons primed and EMP generators at full capacity. Fleet status? Winters asked. Martinez brought up the display. 127 vessels ready for launch. Small by Council standards, but equipped with everything we've developed. Voidborn position? They've broken through the outer defensive line. Admiral Clack's tie has pulled back to Jupiter's orbit to regroup. Voidborn advance continues. Winters opened a channel to all Earth ships. This is Major Winters. For 6 months we've prepared for this day. The Galactic Council dismissed us as primitive, but today we will show them what humanity is capable of. The Voidborn think they face a predictable enemy. Let's show them how unpredictable humans can be. A cheer went up across the communications network. Launch all ships. Battle formation Chaos 1. The Earth fleet rose from its hiding places, converging on an intercept course with the Voidborn advance. On the Defiance, Sub-Commander Vex watched in amazement. You built all this in secret, he asked. How? We had help, Winters admitted, nodding to the crashed scout ship technology they had reverse engineered. And necessity is a powerful motivator. As the fleet approached the battlefield, they could see the Council ships struggling. The Voidborn vessels, organic mechanical hybrids that seemed to pulse with dark energy, were methodically tearing through Admiral Clack's formations. Standard Council attack pattern, Martinez observed. The Voidborn have already adapted. Then let's give them something new, Winters ordered. All ships, break into strike teams. Random approach vectors. Activate jamming fields. The Earth fleet suddenly scattered, breaking into smaller groups that approached from multiple directions. The Voidborn sensors, calibrated to track the organized Council formations, struggled to lock onto the chaotic movement patterns. First, strike team in range, Kate announced. Kinetic weapons free. Unlike the energy beams of Council weapons, Earth ships fired physical projectiles, advanced versions of traditional bullets and missiles, but enhanced with the alien technology they had studied. The projectiles struck Voidborn ships before their adaptive shields could respond. For the first time, Voidborn vessels showed damage. It's working, Martinez shouted, as the tactical display showed red dots beginning to blink out. Their shields are designed to absorb and adapt to energy weapons, not physical impacts. Winters allowed herself a small smile. All ships continue attack pattern. Secondary weapon systems online. The Earth vessels launched EMP devices next, targeting the areas damaged by kinetic weapons. The electromagnetic pulses disrupted the void-borne ships' internal systems causing some smaller vessels to go dark completely. On the Council communication channels, confusion reigned. "What weapons are the humans using?" demanded a Council commander. "Primitive projectiles," another answered, in disbelief. "Physical objects," Admiral Clax-T's voice cut through. "Impossible. No primitive weapons could harm the Voidborn." But the evidence was on the displays for all to see. The Voidborn advance had stopped. For the first time since they began their consumption of the galaxy, someone had halted them. Vex turned to Winters, his expression a mixture of shock and respect. You knew their weaknesses all along." "We suspected," Winters corrected. "The Council has relied on energy weapons for so long they forgot the effectiveness of kinetic impact. Sometimes old methods work best against new enemies." A massive explosion lit up the battlefield as one of the larger Voidborn ships broke apart under sustained fire from Earth vessels. "The Voidborn are regrouping," Martinez reported. "They're adapting their formations to counter our attack patterns." Winters nodded. "As expected, begin Phase 2. The Earth fleet shifted again, this time into new formations that seemed equally random but followed a different underlying logic. As the Voidborn adjusted to counter them, the humans were already changing tactics. "We won't win this alone," Winters said, looking at the remaining Council ships. "We need to coordinate with Admiral Clax-T's forces." Vex stepped forward. "I can help with that, if you're willing to share your tactics." Winters considered for only a moment. Earth's survival, all survival, mattered more than secrecy now. "Open a channel to Admiral Clax-T," she ordered. Then to Vex. "Convince him to work with us." As Vex began speaking urgently to his commander, Winters watched the battle unfold. The Voidborn had been stopped, but for how long? This was just the first engagement of what promised to be a long war. But for the first time since discovering the threat, Winters felt real hope. Humanity had proven its worth today. The Galactic Council had underestimated Major Winters and her species until humanity's leader struck. Admiral Clax-T's massive face filled the screen on the bridge of the Defiance. His stone-like features were set in a stubborn frown. Even with Council ships being destroyed all around him, his pride remained intact. "I will not take battle orders from humans," he growled, each word dripping with contempt. Major Winters kept her voice calm. "This isn't about orders, Admiral. It's about survival. Our weapons are effective against the Voidborn. Yours are not. A temporary advantage at best. The Council has faced threats for thousands of years. We will adapt." "There's no time to adapt. The Voidborn will reach Earth in hours unless we work together." Vex stepped forward. "Admiral, I have witnessed the human fleet in action. Their approach is unorthodox but effective. The Council's standard tactics are failing." Clax-T's eyes narrowed. "You've gone native, Subcommander. I expected better from you." Another alarm sounded. On the tactical display, 5 more Council ships vanished. "The Voidborn have broken through the Jupiter defense line," Lieutenant Martinez reported. "They're accelerating toward Mars." Winters made a decision. "Admiral, we're moving to engage the Voidborn at Mars orbit with or without you. I'm sending our tactical data to your fleet. Use it or don't. But know that Earth's survival depends on what you choose." She cut the transmission before Clax-T could respond. "All Earth vessels, form up for Mars intercept. Lieutenant Martinez, send our attack patterns and weapons specifications to all Council ships. Even if Clax-T won't cooperate, some of his captains might see reason." The Earth fleet surged forward, leaving the remains of the Jupiter battle behind. Winters felt the weight of command heavy on her shoulders. They had won the first engagement, but the Voidborn were adaptive. Already, the tactical displays showed the enemy changing their formations, developing countermeasures. "They're learning," Dr. Collins said from his monitoring station. "The Voidborn are a collective intelligence. Each ship shares information with all others." "Like a giant neural network," Dr. Murphy added. "The more we fight them, the more they understand our tactics." Winters nodded. "Then we need to keep changing our approach. Kate, what's the status on the secondary weapons?" Kate Lawson looked up from her console. Gravity disruptors are online but untested in actual combat. They might work or they might do nothing. We'll try them at Mars. The red planet grew larger in the view screens as the Earth fleet approached. Behind them, the Voidborn followed, a dark cloud of ships consuming everything in their path. Ahead, Mars glowed rust red against the blackness of space. Voidborn will be in range in 3 minutes, Martinez announced. Deploy in Chaos 2 formation, Winters ordered. Prepare gravity disruptors. The Earth ships scattered, reorganizing into a new pattern that looked random but followed a complex mathematical model designed by Dr. Murphy. Small, fast ships darted around larger vessels, creating a confusing defense screen. The Voidborn arrived, their ships no longer in the tight formation they had used against the Council. They had adapted, spreading out to mirror the human fleet's chaos. They're copying our tactics, Martinez said, concern in his voice. As expected, Winters replied. Activate gravity disruptors now. Throughout the Earth fleet, new weapons powered up. Unlike the kinetic projectiles that caused physical damage, the gravity disruptors created localized distortions in space-time, briefly warping the fabric of reality around Voidborn ships. On the tactical display, several enemy vessels suddenly spun out of control, their organic mechanical systems confused by the changing gravitational forces. It's working, Kate exclaimed. Their navigation systems can't compensate for the gravity shifts, but the advantage was short-lived. Within minutes, the larger Voidborn ships adjusted, generating counterfields that neutralized the disruptors' effects. They're adapting faster than we anticipated, Murphy warned. Martinez's voice grew urgent. Major, we have incoming. Council ships approaching from behind us. Winters turned to the rear display. A flotilla of Council vessels was rapidly closing the distance, their formation tight and orderly. Standard Council approach. Are they pursuing us or the Voidborn? She wondered aloud. Vex studied the pattern. Those aren't Admiral Clack's Ties ships. That's Counselor Eridan's personal fleet. As if on cue, a communication request came through. Winters accepted it, and Counselor Eridan's familiar face appeared on screen. His pale green skin seemed grayer than she remembered, his large eyes weary. Major Winters, he greeted her. It seems your warnings were correct. A bit late for recognition, Counselor. Yes. The Council's arrogance has cost many lives today. Eridan's voice carried genuine regret. Admiral Claxitai's flagship was destroyed 20 minutes ago. The Voidborn targeted him specifically. Winters felt a moment of shock. Claxitai had been arrogant and dismissive, but he was a skilled commander. I'm sorry to hear that. I've assumed emergency command of all Council forces in this sector. Your sub-commander Vex transmitted your tactical data. My fleet is here to assist under your guidance. It was an extraordinary moment, a senior Council member deferring to a human commander. Winters didn't waste time savoring it. Thank you. Counselor, we need to merge our forces immediately. The Voidborn are adapting to our tactics faster than expected. As Eridan's ships joined the Earth fleet, a new problem emerged. The Council pilots struggled to maintain the irregular patterns that the human ships used so effectively. Their flight systems are too automated, Martinez explained. They rely on computers for precision, not pilot instinct. And their weapons can't be quickly modified to fire physical projectiles, Kate added. Winters considered the situation. They needed to combine strengths, not force the Council ships to fight like humans. Lieutenant Martinez, develop a hybrid formation. Council, ships in their geometric patterns, but positioned to create corridors for our vessels to move unpredictably through. Martinez nodded, his fingers flying over the tactical display as he created the new battle plan. Kate, work with the Council engineers. See if we can modify their energy weapons to pulse at random frequencies instead of trying to optimize each shot. On it, Kate said, already opening a channel to Eridan's chief engineer. Dr. Collins, what have you learned about the Voidborn communication system? The xenobiologist looked up from his instruments. They use quantum entanglement for instant communication across their fleet. That's why they adapt so quickly. Each ship knows what every other ship experiences. Can we disrupt it? Theoretically, if we could identify the specific quantum frequency and generate an opposing field, Dr. Murphy joined them. We might be able to use the crashed scout ship's communication array as a basis. It uses a similar principle. Winters nodded. Make it happen. On the main screen, the battle for Mars continued. The combined Earth Council fleet was holding its own, but the Voidborn kept adjusting, kept learning. For every ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. A direct hit rocked the Defiance, sending crew members tumbling. Warning lights flashed across control panels. Hull breach on Deck 7, a crewman reported. Emergency systems responding. Winters steadied herself against her command chair. Status of the fleet? We've lost 12 Earth vessels and 8 Council ships, Martinez replied grimly. At this rate, we won't last much longer. Counselor Eridan's voice came through the speakers. Major, we cannot hold Mars. We should retreat to Earth's orbit for a final stand. Winters looked at the tactical display. Eridan was right. They were losing this battle. But retreat would only delay the inevitable. No, she said firmly. We don't fall back. We need to push forward directly into the heart of their fleet. Martinez stared at her. That's suicide. Not if Dr. Collins and Dr. Murphy can disrupt their quantum communication. Without their collective intelligence, they're just individual ships. She opened a channel to all vessels. This is Major Winters. Prepare for Operation Thunderstrike. All Earth ships form up on the Defiance. All Council vessels provide covering fire. As the fleet reorganized, Winters turned to her team. Humanity's true test was just beginning. The bridge of the Defiance hummed with tense energy as Major Elaine Winters reviewed the plan one final time. The massive Voidborn command ship loomed on the view screen, a structure twice the size of Earth's moon, its surface rippling with dark energy patterns. The quantum disruptor is ready, Dr. Murphy reported, his voice strained with exhaustion. But it must be delivered directly to the command ship's central processing node to be effective. How close? Winters asked. Murphy exchanged glances with Dr. Collins. Inside the main aperture, the central chamber. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Everyone understood what that meant. A suicide mission. Once the disruptor activates, Collins added, it should create a cascade failure throughout the Voidborn fleet. Without their collective intelligence, they'll be isolated units vulnerable to conventional attacks. Winters nodded and turned to the tactical display. The remnants of Earth's fleet and Counselor Eridan's forces had formed a protective ring around the Defiance. Ahead of them, the Voidborn swarm parted around their massive command ship, creating a narrow corridor. Lieutenant Martinez, plot an approach vector through that gap. Maximum speed. Martinez's fingers moved over the controls, but his face showed doubt. The corridor is closing rapidly, Major. We'll have less than 2 minutes to reach the command ship before their forces converge. 2 minutes is all we need. Winters opened a channel to Counselor Eridan. Counselor, we're ready to begin Operation Thunderstrike. I need your fleet to create a diversion. Draw as many Voidborn ships away from their command center as possible. Eridan's tired face appeared on screen. Understood, Major. The Council owes Earth a debt we can never repay. Whatever happens today, know that you have earned the respect of the galaxy. The channel closed, and Winters watched as Eridan's fleet began a brilliant but suicidal attack on the Voidborn's flank. As hoped, many enemy ships peeled away to counter the threat. The corridor is widening, Martinez announced. Now's our chance. All hands prepare for maximum acceleration, Winters ordered. Kate, status on the quantum disruptor? Kate Lawson stood beside a large device secured to the deck. It pulsed with strange energy, a combination of Council technology and human engineering. Disruptor at full power. Once we're in position, it will need 15 seconds to synchronize with the Voidborn quantum frequency. 15 seconds will have to survive inside the beast, Winters murmured. Then louder, all non-essential personnel to escape pods. Major, President Carter's voice came through the communication system. Earth Command is receiving your telemetry. The situation is clear. Mr. President, if we succeed, the combined fleet should be able to eliminate the remaining Voidborn forces. If we fail, I understand, Major. But there's another option. The delivery can be automated. The Defiance doesn't need a crew for this final run. Winters looked around at her team. Murphy, Collins, Kate, Martinez, and the others who had worked for months to reach this moment. They deserved a chance to survive. With respect, sir, the approach will require manual adjustments. Automation won't cut it. Then at least transfer command. Let someone else pilot the final approach. Winters smiled slightly. Some missions can't be delegated, Mr. President. The entire galaxy is watching to see what humanity stands for. I need to show them. There was a long pause before Carter replied, his voice thick with emotion. Godspeed, Major Winters. Winters turned to her crew. Anyone who wishes to leave has my permission. Escape pods are standing by. Not a single person moved. Very well, she said, pride swelling in her chest. Battle stations. Lieutenant Martinez, begin our approach. The Defiance surged forward, engines burning hot as they accelerated toward the narrow corridor between void-born forces. On either side, enemy ships turned to intercept them, but Eridan's fleet kept them occupied just long enough. Entering the I corridor, Martinez reported. 30 seconds to the command ship aperture. The massive command ship grew larger in the view screen, its surface details becoming visible, not metal or hull plating, but a strange organic mechanical hybrid material that pulsed like a heartbeat. Void-born vessels converging behind us. Someone called out, "Closing the corridor." "Keep going," Winters ordered. "All power to forward shields." The Defiance shuddered as it took hits from behind, but Martinez kept it on course, making minor adjustments as they approached the giant aperture. On the command ship's surface, a circular opening that glowed with eerie blue light. 15 seconds to contact, he announced, sweat beading on his forehead as he fought the controls. The ship rocked violently. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. "Engine 2 is offline," Kate shouted over the noise. "Hull breaches on multiple." "Dex, reroute all remaining power to Engine 1, Winters commanded. "We only need a few more seconds." The aperture filled the view screen now, its edges pulsing as if the massive ship was breathing. Inside they could see the central chamber, a vast space filled with swirling energy patterns, the heart of the Void-born collective. 5 seconds, Martinez called. Another hit rocked the ship. The lights flickered, and several control panels exploded in showers of sparks. Martinez was thrown from his chair, his console destroyed. Without hesitation, Winters leapt to the navigation controls. The Defiance was badly damaged, barely responding to commands, but they were so close. "Kate, prepare the disruptor for manual activation," she ordered, hands flying over the controls. "But Major, you won't have time to—" "That's an order, Lieutenant." With a grim nod, Kate began the final preparations as Winters guided the dying ship toward the central chamber. The Defiance groaned around them, its structure failing, but Winters kept it on course through sheer force of will. 3 seconds to optimal position, Kate reported. Disruptor ready for activation. Through the view screen, Winters could see the heart of the Void-born network, a pulsing core of energy that somehow felt malevolent, aware. They had one chance to end this. "Everyone to escape pods now," she shouted. "That's an order." Her remaining crew hesitated for only a moment before running for the emergency exits. Only Kate stayed behind. "You too, Kate," Winters said softly. "Someone needs to tell our story." Kate's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded and squeezed Winters' shoulder before running from the bridge. Alone now, Winters watched the countdown. On the disruptor reach 0. The command chamber was directly ahead, the beating heart of the enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy. With steady hands, she locked in the final approach vector and moved to the disruptor. One button would trigger the device, disrupting the quantum communication network that gave the Void-born their collective intelligence. As her finger hovered over the activation switch, Winters thought of Earth, of humanity, of all the species in the Council who had dismissed her warnings. Today they would all learn what humans were truly capable of. "For Earth," she whispered, and pressed the button. The quantum disruptor activated with a high-pitched whine. the bridge filled with blinding light as Winters guided the Defiance directly into the central aperture, detonating the device at the precise moment of impact. From the escape pods and distant ships, witnesses saw the command ship convulse as energy cascaded across its surface. The disruption spread outward like a wave, connecting to each void-borne vessel through their quantum network. One by one, the enemy ships began to drift, their coordinated movements dissolving into chaos. Without their shared intelligence, the Voidborn became isolated targets that the combined Earth Council fleet methodically eliminated. 3 weeks later, Counselor Eridan stood before the full Galactic Council in their rebuilt chamber. The mood was somber yet hopeful as delegates from all Council worlds, including Earth, gathered to honor those lost in the battle. Today we recognize that our greatest strength comes not from technological advancement, but from diversity of thought and approach, Eridan said. Humanity, whom we dismissed as primitive, showed us that sometimes the oldest methods combined with the newest ideas create something revolutionary. At his gesture, a shroud fell away from a memorial in the center of the chamber, a statue of Major Elaine Winters standing tall and proud. Major Winters gave her life not just for Earth, but for all sentient beings in our galaxy. Her legacy will be this new Galactic Defense Alliance, where no species' contribution is dismissed as primitive or unworthy. On Earth, President Carter addressed the newly formed alliance. His words were broadcast across the galaxy, translated into hundreds of languages. Major Winters understood what the Council didn't. True strength comes not from technological advancement, but from the courage to face impossible odds with creativity and determination. The galaxy underestimated humanity once. They won't make that mistake again. Across the stars, species that had once looked down on humans now studied their history, their tactics, their unexpected approaches to problems. They learned that sometimes the most primitive solution could be the most effective. And somewhere in the vast cosmos, perhaps Major Elaine Winters knew that her sacrifice had not just saved Earth, but had changed the galaxy forever.